In today's episode, I sit down with Adrien Plavsic, a former NHL defenseman and Olympian, to explore the real mental game behind elite performance. From visualization to emotional regulation to training your subconscious and trusting your skills under pressure, Adrien offers powerful insight that goes far beyond the ice. Whether you're an athlete, parent, or coach, this conversation will leave you inspired to embrace progress, presence, and purpose. Welcome to Forged Youth Legacy Within. Adrien, I'm so glad that you are here because you are somebody who actually, like, you had a dream, you had a goal, you put in the action and the effort, and you made it. And that is such a small percentage of athletes who actually get to follow through and go the distance. And you did. And I just think that is absolutely admirable. And I'm so glad that you're here to share some of that wisdom with us. So thank you. Let's start it off by talking maybe a little bit about what you would say to a 15-year-old hockey player right now, because you did over 200 games in the NHL. You've been there, done that. If you could look back at you when you were like 15, what is like a piece of advice that could have helped you when you were that age?
For sure, I love that, and I want to a little bit go into what you said first about made it. Yeah, we make it. I made it to the NHL, and everybody has a bit of a different definition of what making it is.
Hmm.
Somewhere, I know that I'd worked really hard to get to that highest level and get the opportunity. One part of me felt like I did make it. Another part felt like I didn't fully seize the opportunity. And then that can go right into the advice that I would give a 15-year-old would be don't worry about the results. Obviously, there's pressure there. There's a need to look at results because hockey is so much about winning and losing,
Hmm.
but focus on progress. How do you progress each and every day and make that your goal? I think often we get lost in the results, the orientation of the results, and it can sidetrack us because it can trigger uh, feelings of like things that we carry, limiting beliefs and things like that. And so we can fall into that loop of being too focused on results. But
Hmm.
if we're making progress and we use each and every day and we win the day and we make that progress, and that's where our focus is, we're being the best version of ourselves. And I think that is really a good approach, uh, sort of that be better mindset every day. How can I be better today versus am I good? That I have to be good, be better, just be better every day.
That is so powerful. And I love that we're starting out like this because that is something that pressure that I feel like as athletes, we get that from everywhere that we look is the pressure on the outcome. It's the pressure to perform and get the outcome for our parents because they're paying and they're spending the time and the energy and, all of that kind of stuff. And then from coaches, it's, are we winning? Are we moving forward in the league and like all this kind of stuff? And so it's really hard for even adult athletes, let alone youth athletes, to be able to like quiet the noise about the outcome and actually just put their head down and focus on where their feet are, where their skates are. And so, like, it's easy for you and I to even like talk about it, but how do you do that, Adrien? Like, how do you do that?
Uh, I think that's the practice of, um, training your mind to be
Hmm.
present. So I'm a big believer. Something I work on every day is presence. And for me, presence is a natural state. If I look at kids, they're naturally present to the moment, especially when they're really young, before they start, comparing themselves or, start uh, being conditioned in some way, we're
Mhm.
naturally present. Part of it, part of it is removing and seeing what triggers stuff in you. Triggers are amazing. So if a pressure game, all of a sudden there's a big pressure game, and now you find yourself overthinking, that's an indicator that you have to do some inner work. And that's
Mm.
why I'm a big believer in the inner game. And so just having uh, this practice of being able to sit in stillness
Mm.
and go into, these feelings that might show up and surface. Often we distract ourselves and we run away from them. But when we sit with our stuff, it's amazing how it gets processed
Mhm.
versus, you know, if we're feeling insecure. A good example was you're feeling like you don't want to go to the front of the line, on a drill. Now all of a sudden you see that feeling, you feel into it, and you go, oh, wow, there's a little bit of fear here of like, what if I mess up? So observing that, being able to see it when you start getting really good at the practice, but you still go and do it. So
Mhm.
what you're saying is like, I'm in charge. I might have these, you know, feelings and emotions that come up and thoughts, but I'm still moving in the direction of where I want to go. So it's teaching ourselves to not fall into, the nervousness or
Mhm.
these things, and having obviously tools that can alleviate. Sometimes anxiety can get a little bit stronger,
Yeah.
but if you use breathing, like Novak Djokovic talks about breathing in these intense moments, he was the number one in the world and he had these moments. So it's really about noticing what shows up and then how can you skillfully navigate
Mhm.
that so you're moving in the direction of who you want to be and how you want to get better every day. Does that
Oh,
make sense?
yes, yes, so much. And I'm hearing a few things in that I want to pull out. One is that these feelings don't go away when you get older or you move up the ladder or you meet the next peak or you reach your goal or whatever. Like the feelings of pressure, of anxiety, of being nervous, of all of those things, they don't just go away. But what happens is that the people who, like you said, learn how to master them, how to really be in control, those are the people who are able to really be grounded and confident regardless of what is going on. So that was a key piece. So it's not like we ever get to a place in our lives where we're just awesome all the time and we don't have nerves. It happens. Sorry, 1 second. There we go. And the other thing was you said a couple of times to like, I'm not sure how you worded it, but what I heard was like embrace those feelings. Like they're valid. Being nervous when you're about to take a penalty shot or whatever, like that's a valid feeling. Feeling, a little bit like all of those, they're valid feelings. And I'm actually reading a book. It's actually sitting right here. 90 Seconds to a Life You Love, and it's by a doctor, Dr. Rosenberg. And the whole book is about how emotions, when we actually just let them be and feel them, only last 90 seconds. And then they're gone. They stay for longer when we all of a sudden tack a story onto it. So if we're feeling nervous and we don't just sit with being nervous, but instead we're like, oh, I am so nervous. I didn't practice this enough, or this whole thing is on my shoulders, or my coach is going to get mad. Or if we start telling ourselves like things like that, then that feeling actually lasts for longer and it becomes stronger because you're feeding the beast.
Mm.
And so, as a young athlete, that is such a really cool thing for you to know that, I mean, you and I am sure did, like, I didn't know that when I was younger. The information just wasn't really there that emotions only last for 90 seconds. And so being able to be like, okay, I'm nervous. I feel nervous. It's okay. I feel nervous. 90 seconds later, it's gone and you're good to go.
Mm.
So that
Yeah.
was, yeah, that's really cool. I
A,
love that. Embrace the
a
feelings.
couple things, a couple things came to me is remember when we were young, we were afraid of the dark. And so how do you, there's a process I learned, duplication in it, and they use it in trauma work too, is like being able to, how do you overcome something that's been traumatic is, well, you have to be able to, feel into it.
Hmm.
And once you can, see it and experience it, and then, put perspective on it, and look at it a little bit differently or feel into it. So as you feel into something and you duplicate it, the charge gets smaller and smaller. So it's like the dark, like we're scared of the dark, but then, we expose ourselves to it for 30 seconds. Wow, I did it. Then a minute, then we're like, oh, wow, this is cool. The dark is cool. So we've reframed the dark,
Hmm.
as something that scared us and it no longer scares us. So I'm a big believer in, it's like exposing yourself to the virus, your immune system gets stronger in
Hmm.
that same way. And Novak Djokovic talks about that is like feeling whatever you're feeling and then learning to, move with that, uh, turn it on its head because anxiety and excitement, there's sort of, if you can flip the meaning you give it, you can kind of use that feeling and turn it into something a little bit more positive that can give you a lot of energy versus, you know, drain you of your energy.
Yes. Oh, this is such a good conversation. What a word that keeps coming to mind here is being curious, right? So instead of feeling that, quote unquote negative feeling that we're experiencing and trying to move away from it, being curious, being okay, being uncomfortable, and being curious of, okay, like, well, why am I feeling like that? Or is it something else, like the reframe, what you just said? So, like, when we're excited, our heart beats a little faster, we get a little sweaty, our muscles get a little bit tight, and or maybe our breathing gets a little bit shorter. But guess what? When we're excited, it's the same thing. So if we can reframe and or if we're starting to feel that nervousness and all those kind of body sensations that go along with that, instead of right away labeling it as, oh, I'm nervous, it's like, oh man, okay, I'm excited. Here we go. And there's a reframe that is taking the power away from the nerves and putting it into a positive light for yourself. And
For
that
sure.
is
And
huge.
yeah, and what I'll add to it, and it's something you mentioned before, is tying often our identity to
Mm,
these feelings.
yeah.
So if you feel anxiety can make you feel a little bit, it can make you feel small. And
Hmm.
often if we identify too much to anything, we can sort of, develop this feeling of feeling like inferior
Yeah.
versus what you said. Oh, interesting. I have this feeling that showed up, like how you can use that for growth, So it's
Mm,
like the identity. And I think Scotty Scheffler, uh, he talked about how his identity wasn't tied to golf or to
mm,
performance. And I think he gets a sense of self, outside the game. He's much more than just what he does. And
hmm.
we're much more than that feeling we just experienced. So understanding that, then you go, okay, that's something that I'm going to explore more. And
Hmm.
then it becomes this game and you get curious. And then next time, how can I, you know, handle this differently? Or how can I empower myself when I have this feeling? And you can prepare yourself mentally, by doing a mental rehearsal of like when this shows up, how do I want to respond in the face of that? So you're preparing yourself so you're more likely to do it the next time in that specific way that can empower you.
Yes, yes. And a big piece of this for all of you youth listening, parents listening, is the words that we use because words are so powerful. And like for me, I tattooed I am on my hand because whatever comes after it is true. And so when I'm teaching this lesson to the athletes that I work with, I go, are we our emotions? And they kind of think about it and well, yeah. And I'm like, oh, but are we? Or like, are we just emotional beings? Emotions are things that we experience. And they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, that's it. Okay, so then when we say, I am angry, we are making that our what
Mm,
we are and who we are. But it's just a visitor. And
mm,
so if we say, I'm feeling angry, then you are detaching from that emotion, right? And so being able to even use that, I have found in my own life and my athletes who have started using it, being able to, instead of saying, I am anxious, I am angry, I am overwhelmed, saying it as a feeling. And then what is something that you want to be? Well, I am brave,
cool.
right? I am courageous. And that just that simple switch with our words is so powerful. Where have you seen words play a powerful like moment in your life? Hey there. Quick pause to say thank you. If you're listening right now, you're already a part of something powerful. We're here to help young athletes and their families build grit, resilience, and purpose. And your support makes that possible. Did you know that over half of podcast listeners never hit follow? That one click actually helps us grow, get bigger, and reach more people who need to hear this. So if you're enjoying this episode, please hit follow or subscribe. It's free, it takes a second, and it really does mean the world to us. Now, back to the show.
We're always having a conversation with ourselves
Yeah.
of some sort. I think there, especially when there's disturbances, emotions that disturb,
Mm,
so important what we say to ourselves in those moments. And I thought about what you said I thought of like keeping your center, you know,
mm,
life, you know, we wouldn't know hot if there wasn't cold. So life brings us all these different emotions so we can it sort of mm, can make our life rich, but also we get to know what they feel like and we get to know ourselves in that. And when you become really skillful at being able to navigate life, because there's storms, there's ups and downs, you're going to win, you're going to lose. Uh, you keep your center, even though, there's a negative emotion that comes, and then there's this adversity that comes in. The practice is just keeping your center and being really aware. So you develop this immunity. And I think back to what you said, the words that we use,
mm,
like, I got this, like, I got this. This feels hard, but I know it's good for me. I
mhm,
got this. A simple like affirmation. I love what you said earlier. I am where my feet are, you
mhm.
know. I love that. It's just being really present and saying, okay, um, I'm, I accept what's in front of me and I'm going to face it and I'm not going to try to avoid it or,
Yeah.
try to control it, but just trust that something good will come out of it. And I think words are powerful. It can just help us be more grounded
Hmm.
when emotions or difficulties or challenges arise.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that center. That's so good. And we kind of got into all of this conversation because we started with talking about like an outcome goal versus the daily grind of the process goals. So for the athletes listening who do have those big goals, they want to do Div 1, they want to go to the Olympics, they want to like all of these things. How how do they s- not spend so much time focusing on where they want to go and without losing the vision and rather, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do. I
I'm
do.
struggling with this question for some reason.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like,
No, no, yeah, no worries. So, yeah, I think the ego, the inner game of tennis, I love the way Timothy Galway explains
mm,
that the ego, and that's the ego is like packed with all its history, carries, you know, the fears, the past experiences. So it's really there to protect you. And then there's the natural, our innate, our body's intelligence, the subconscious, which does everything for us. It's amazing. Like just our heart beating. Like imagine a child just learning to walk, but everything that happened from the day we were born. And I'm in awe, more and more in awe of that mechanism. And in psycho-cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz talks about your success mechanism. And what I find is that the ego can start interfering with that and really developing that relationship between self one and self two, as described, is like you want it to be one
mm,
of trust and confidence,
yeah,
and letting that, you know, mechanism work. It's like driving a car in the beginning. Well, your conscious mind, well, it's there. You have to turn on the car, you have to sit down, and then you have to be a little bit more present because it's a skill you haven't learned. But after repeating it over and over, your subconscious has got it. And then
yeah.
you can do like, you can even turn the music on, you're in your thoughts, and you've arrived to your destination. So I think it's really about letting go of the how. How are you gonna how are you gonna get to, the finish line? Okay, there's probably many finish lines, but trusting that the how is really not something that you have to focus on. You have that vision. I think that's important. You've
Hmm.
given your, your subconscious mind like a vision. Oh, this is what I want to achieve. And
Hmm.
then it's just falling in love with the process, because in the process is the enjoyment, is like the richer the experience, the richer your today is, you're like fueling that dream. And I can tell you, like most players that play the game for a long time, and they play for a long time, and they have this playfulness, they have this childlike, these qualities, because they love the game, and they haven't lost that love for the game.
Hmm.
So I think you can have that vision, but then it's got to be like, remember, why do you like coming to the rink or whatever other sport that you're doing? Always remember that, and keep it there. And I think get really good at being good at the process, preparing yourself. And then once you step on the ice, you got to let go and
Hmm.
trust that all the work that you did will display itself, that you're going to, know and what to do. You're going to
Yeah.
make the right decisions. And that is, to me, presence, being grounded, not being in your head. When you're overthinking, you're not seeing, you won't see the play, you won't make the right decision. But if you're in your body, and you manage, and you're aware, and you're, with your senses, your instincts will take over, and your subconscious is, that's when I've played my best game, is when I even forgot that, you know I was like, it's not about me. It's, I just want to go out and play. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
100%. 100%. And I love that that is. it's bringing up something that I work with athletes a lot on, and I'm sure it is that trusting mindset. So like what I say is that there's the training phase of your sport, and that is where you're bringing all your skills in. So you're being critical of yourself and you are like, kind of picking on yourself. What do I need to grow at? What do I suck at right now? And how do I need to improve on? And you're doing the reps and you're like, that is the part for you to be really focused on the and make the mistakes and focus on how to get them better. And then as soon as you get into your trusting mindset is where you're letting the skills out. That's where you're in competition. So that exactly what you just said, like trusting all the reps that you just put in, trusting all, that you showed up for yourself, and then allowing your skills and your dedication to the sport to be able to just like come out and have fun, because we as athletes, we always do better when we're having fun. That's the reason why we joined the sport in the very beginning, was because it was fun. And we just like to be there and be competing and be with our friends who are our teammates and, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, no, just being able to, yeah, sit in that trusting. And I think that piece itself is, it's a testament to you knowing how much that you actually showed up for yourself in practice, because you're going to be able to fully trust yourself if you know that at practice you showed up and you did 110% at practice, whether you liked the reps, whether you hated doing strength and conditioning, whether you whatever, but you showed up and you all the things that you could control, you did to the best of your abilities in practice. And then in a game, you're going to be able to trust yourself that much more because you know that you didn't shortcut it at all. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I do think, what do they say, like preparation
Mm-hmm.
is the more, and that's what I talked about before, is the process of, there's a process to everything. Like
Mm-hmm.
we get out of bed, we brush our teeth, and the better we brush our teeth, the less cavities we'll have. So I think yeah, often in today's busy world, kids have a lot going on. So it's being able to, create a routine and rituals for yourself that will, help you get into flow, into the moment, and then recognizing, when you need, sleep and when you need self-care.
Yeah.
But totally, if you come to the arena and now all of a sudden you're, you have your rituals and your preparation to do, and the more you do that, the more automatic it will become. It's like going for a run, first thing the in the morning you get up and then you just go outside. Once you do that 100, 200, 300 times, it's just automatic. You don't even have to think about it. And it's not even anymore like, do I want to or not? It becomes
Mhm.
this, is this thing, this ritual that becomes a part of you. And that's when it becomes powerful. And I think the great performers, they just do that. They do that mentally, they do that
Mhm.
physically, and they have an intensity. And I heard this, that Jack Nicklaus, the great golfer, he used to, when he practiced, he imagined himself being in the moment. He tried to convince his mind that this was like being, at the biggest tournament. And
Mhm.
so he made his practice, take on the look of, a real competition. And I think that's how we can make things even more intense, and prepare ourselves for the pressure, for
Yeah.
situations that are going to be intense, where we're going to be challenged, because often in training we don't have that aspect.
Mhm.
We don't have, there's less pressure. So you've heard of the saying, oh, he's a great practice player, you know and then in game everything gets tight because the
Yeah.
overthinking starts to take over, and then everything sort of gets blocked.
Yeah. Yeah. There's two pieces in that are really good. Number one is the power of visualization, but I want to come back to that one. The second piece is routine and like your ritual. That's something also that I work with these athletes on is like create the same routine that you do every time so that your body knows that when you hit the first thing in that routine, by the time it's at the end of it, your body knows, oh, yeah, we're going to compete now. Let's do this. Right. And it's like we get down to the detail. Like, when are you, for swimmers, like, when are you putting your cap and goggles on? And when, are you, like, what music are you listening to? And when are you having a drink? Like, all that kind of stuff. How was that for you when you were playing? Did you, like, what was your routine ritual to get you prepared?
I wish I would have known this stuff.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
because this is it's also like, NLP stuff
Yes.
and triggers. And when you see like professionals uh, preparing for their game, they're taping their stick a certain way, they're doing the
Yes.
same things over and over, and it's like getting them into that mode. And
Yeah.
I would say I wasn't consistent enough in
Yeah.
doing that. So when you don't have a routine, your mind can go towards the distractions. So
Yes.
giving
Yes.
your conscious mind things to do,
Yeah.
so you're involved in that, and that's part of the preparation. And so that communication is like, now we're getting ready for this big moment.
Yeah.
And then I think the better you get at that, it becomes something that can just um, really prepare you for stepping on the ice and having the confidence to just let go and know
Mm.
that, wow, you've done it so many times and it's worked. And
Yeah.
then you can just focus on that. And that's the process versus, looking too far down the road of, how am I going to play today, or all these things that can, show up, especially as you progress and you get to a higher level, or you're playing, against the best of the best.
Yeah. That is a solid point that all of this like mental training, sports psychology, it really is new. Like there wasn't this information back when you were playing, when I was playing, it was very unheard of. And so it really was trial and error for all of us athletes to figure out, oh, that worked last time, maybe it'll work this time. And so I think like you who are listening, you guys have the edge of like you can go and be so much, even like crazy to say, but greater than all of us from the past because you now have an opportunity to learn all of these things that are training your mind and how much your mind is affecting your body and how it all is so intertwined. And so I'm glad that you guys are listening to this because it really does, if you take what you're hearing and you put action behind it, it sets you apart for sure, for sure. So let's go back to the visualization piece. Our brains don't know the difference between imagination and reality, which is so cool and crazy all at the all at the same time. Like, how have you either seen visualization work in your own life or maybe the athletes that you work with?
Yeah, for sure. It's something that most athletes don't use.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, think about how our world has evolved, and everything that we built like comes from someone imagining. So somewhere we have this creative nature. Um,
Mhm.
and I think some people are better at, seeing images, but our subconscious mind, it doesn't understand it. It will, to a certain point, it doesn't, I guess negation doesn't know, but images are so important. So the stronger images you can have, sharper images, that's like you're directly communicating to your subconscious. So I think not having that part, you're leaving a lot of your potential behind. And you see like images like Drew Brees, he will go 45 minutes before his game the day before, and he'll just move his body, close his eyes, and go back through these are all the plays that I'm going to go through. Imagine the dedication. Like
Yeah.
that's you care so much that you want to do well. So you're preparing your mind. You're like, saying, okay, this is how we want things to go. So I totally believe that we should be using visualization, like making it something that you put on your calendar and you
Hmm.
make it part of your routine, not something, oh, I'm going to try. There's no such thing as trying. You do it. You do it. Okay, that was I didn't see the images that strongly, but the more you're going to do it,
Hmm.
the more you'll get good at it. And if you're having trouble with it, if you could see something, how would it look? So you can even imagine what would it look like if you could see it. So you can really play in a lot of different ways and then see yourself celebrating. And like you said, the difference, the mind doesn't know the difference between something
Hmm.
imagined and something real.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually a previous guest is his name Mike Blom. He's a ninja. He is on Team Canada Jiu-Jitsu. I think he has like 6 black belts. I don't know, he's crazy.
Wow.
But before a competition as well, he will go to the gym and like he'll know what mat he's on and he'll go and stand on the mat while they're setting everything up and whatever. And he'll just like imagine what's going to happen the next day and get himself really into it. Because then when he shows up the next day, he goes, I know this place. I've felt this map before. Right? And it just like helps him be that much more centered for competition. And
Mm,
and when it comes to visualization, that is something that I use in my life every day. And it's something that I learned from my volleyball coach when I was like 11 to 15 years old. Like he was ahead of his time 100%.
wow.
And he would have us all laying on the floor and he would do a guided visualization for each one of us for our positions, for our strength, like all of that kind of, and it was just it I mean we won everything. Like it was crazy. And because he taught us how to do that. So we were practicing with our minds just as much as we were practicing with our bodies. And what he taught me, and I've now done research too, actually, is that to really make that visualization that the brain that you're tricking your brain that it's actually happening involves 3 different pieces. The first piece is your skills. So you go into super crazy detail about the skill set that you're going to be using when you're in competition. Like for me, where's my elbow at when I'm doing my arm swing? Like all those crazy little details. And then the second piece is senses. When we tie in our senses, we're able to make that picture clearer. So, like, what does the ice rink smell like? What does it feel like? What are you hearing? Like, try and do all of that, and that really brings forth your imagination. And then the last piece is struggle, because no competition is going to go without some sort of a challenge showing up. And so, being able to actually also visualize that challenge and then how you're going to meet it and overcome it. And then it's just like, boom, right? It was just so powerful. And I use it every day still.
That sounds amazing, and it makes a lot of sense. As you feel into, it's like that lemon analogy. If you like really pictured, you're going to start
Yeah.
kind of salivating. But it takes me back to when I was a kid, and Saturday mornings we had practice at 6:30, and I would get up at 5:30. My dad would drive me to the rink because we knew the Zamboni driver would make the ice. And I was there like 30 minutes skating around and just imagining playing at the Montreal Forum, which is like
Ooh,
the mecca of hockey. And I imagine like people cheering. So I was doing it somewhere.
yes.
It was, I think kids do naturally use their imagination, but I remember doing it in the outdoor rinks. So I really wanted, this was like something I wanted to do so much in life. And when we want something so much, we're like imagining how would it be to do
Yeah.
that. I think it comes naturally. So
Yeah.
you've taken me back to my childhood.
Awesome. Well, we've covered like process goals and outcome goals, visualization, like dedication, showing up and getting in that prep and doing the work, trusting yourself. What is something else that you think young athletes should really know about when it comes to anything, really?
Okay. Um, I would say, I think what I realize now at 55, it comes and it goes, fairly quickly. So really waking up each and every day. Obviously, you're not going to be the same each and every day, but the gratitude of getting a
Mm-hmm.
chance to know yourself through sports is such a beautiful way to know yourself, and like really acknowledging, wow, today I have the opportunity to grow, to get to know myself through this game that I love. So it's really about uh, I would have taken so much more time to like be able to smell the flowers and go, wow, that workout felt so good. And just acknowledging, you know, moments where you get into flow, where your performance, goes well, and just anchoring those moments and being able to slow down sometimes
Mm-hmm.
so you're more conscious of the experience that you're having. Because I remember being at the Olympics and being so worried about the outcome that I don't have like great memories of it because I was so worried about, is this going to turn out right? And so I think being able to self-regulate, and that's why the inner game and working on yourself is so important, because that trust piece allows you to experience life fully. Somewhere you can let go enough. Obviously, you have to prepare, but you can let go enough to be able to, go, wow, this is amazing playing in front of 20,000 people or wherever you're playing, and kind of acknowledging and being fully present. So I'm a big believer in working on that present and being in your body and not in your head like I
Yeah.
was sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gratitude. That's such a huge one. And I love that because it actually is something that most of the pro athletes that I have on here bring up is
Wow.
having gratitude, which I think is like it's interesting because I feel like as a young athlete, you're sitting there and you don't really think that even it's not even on your radar, gratitude. It really just isn't.
Totally.
And so to have time after time again, have people like yourself come on here who have the wisdom and the experience and like all that stuff and just say, hey, this is an important piece right here. Because too, what we focus on grows. And so if we are looking for something to be grateful for in that day, then we're going to find it. But if we are complaining, oh, I hate this drill, or I'm so sore, or I know they got more playing time than me, or like whatever it is, then we're actually going to become a magnet for that. We're going to see more of that kind of stuff. So it once again is gratitude is training your brain to always see like hope and to just be in that mindset that is going to allow you to unlock your full potential.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
also what comes up for me is like how many people contribute to us being able to, play the game, do the things, and acknowledging also, our
Mhm.
parents. Sometimes we take those things for granted, but
Yeah.
yeah, and sharing moments, I think, and sometimes sharing also our fears. I think when we open up and we're vulnerable, all those things can, you know help us feel more grounded, because the struggle is part of the journey as well.
Yeah. Yeah. This is so good. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions now that we got from followers.
Okay.
I'm excited. Okay, so the first one is from Sarah Oki. I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly, Sarah. And her hockey player wanted to ask you how to stand out as a defenseman as you go up the levels if your goal is to go pro.
Hmm, great question. How to stand out. So I take it back to, you know, presence, like
Mhm.
being, we often, I would hear scouts or GMs go, some guys you just notice on the ice. They're really present. And I think there's a cool demeanor to a
Mhm.
player who's confident out there.
Yeah.
The great John Wooden, the coach, he would say, do everything like quickly. Hockey's a fast game, just like basketball is, but never
Yeah.
be in a rush. So
Oh,
never,
that's a good.
yeah,
I haven't heard.
yeah, yeah. So be quick in your decision making, but have that calm. That's why I think stillness, practicing
Mhm.
stillness and having that sort of practice, because that gives you that cultivates poise. And
Mhm.
then obviously you want your muscles to go fast, your legs to go fast. But a great example for me, for the caller who had that question, is Nick Lidstrom, who played for the Detroit Red Wings. Just made everything look so effortless, because he was always in good position, facing the ice. So in another way, would uh, learn the real basics, like what is it, what's important for, a defenseman to always reposition himself. Like in tennis, if you hit the shot, you have to come back to the middle. For D-man, always come back to the middle of the ice, and just learning much more than just the skills of making a pass, but always kind of repositioning yourselves and learning the game, the little subtle details of the game. But I
Mhm.
would say having presence on the ice, and that
Mhm.
that means having a good stick, making yourself big, taking space, making a firm pass, all
Yeah.
those good things that make you stand out, and doing it in a consistent way, then you'll stand out for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. And all of those skills that you're talking, like stillness, like just having that being grounded on the ice and not rushing, like those are all attributes also that make a good leader. And so like the calm, confident person who is just like knows what to do, takes care of what needs to be done, doesn't have crazy when they have emotions, they are able to regulate them. Like those are that when you're able to be that player, all of a sudden the rest of the team is looking to you because you are the center. Everybody else can realizes that you're calm and that's contagious. And so that in itself, right? Yes, that's going to make you stand out as a defensive player, but it's also going to make you just stand out as a player and as a leader. And as a coach, that's what I'm looking for. Right? Like I would
Totally.
like 100% all day long if there is two players and one has like so much more skill but doesn't have emotional regulation, is just super rushed and is, all that kind of stuff versus somebody who maybe isn't as great at skill but has the mental fortitude to carry themselves properly. I'm going to choose that person all day long.
Hmm.
So,
It makes me think of Phil Jackson, who had, coached the Bulls. He had Pippen, Jordan, like all the greats. And I guess one of the stories would be like when they were struggling, they turn and go timeout. But he just had the confidence. He goes, "You guys figure it out." So him, like, just he transmitted this confidence. You guys can figure it out. I'm not gonna, you know, take a timeout every time there's something that goes wrong, and then it just empowers your calm. And I think a coach's calm really influences the players, and that's something you feel and you reflect, or transmit to others.
I agree. I agree. Okay, next question from Philly Donovan Nichols. What is your best hockey memory before going pro?
Mm, wow. My best hockey memory before going pro. Um, that's a good question. Um, I would say the World Juniors.
Okay.
Um, yeah, World Juniors. I was just there on the verge of turning pro,
Hmm.
and um, yeah, played for Canada, obviously, and we won the gold medal. And being on that big stage and having a moment like that in Finland, and winning the whole thing. And the format was a little bit different because there wasn't a final game. It was more like a round robin, and whoever had the most point. And we found out that we won because I think Russia scored a goal with a minute left. But just that moment of playing on the big stage,
Hmm.
and then we had to wait to find out if we won the gold or not, which
Oh
was
man.
really strange of a strange format that they experimented with. But I think they went back to the old ways. I would say that was the World Juniors in 1990, and then I would say being drafted to the NHL in Montreal, where I'm from. And then you're like, they rank you. And then, every team goes up to the podium and they go, we select from, and then hearing your name, we select from the University of New Hampshire. Oh, that's me. Okay. And then you have to
I'm gonna
walk
go
up,
say
and
that.
then your friends and your family are there. So that's a pretty amazing moments to share with family, but almost like I've arrived somewhat. Okay, the door's
Yeah.
open for me. So yeah,
Yeah. Oh my
I
God, I
would
got
say
so
that was
excited.
a
I got
big moment.
goosebumps when you were saying that. That those moments are incredible. I now this isn't a question from them, but how was like how was team spirit during those? Like do you still talk to some of those teammates? Like how were you super close kind of going to junior nationals or
Yeah, World
well,
Juniors.
yeah.
Mm,
Like what was the
um,
team camaraderie like?
yeah, I think there are um, teams where, like, I played in Zurich in Switzerland. We won two titles, back-to-back titles. So depending on where you live. But most of the time, uh, guys end up, are older. I was younger and I played with older guys. So, people move on. But there
Hmm.
are lots of people, if they stay within the city. I know players who played with me for the Vancouver Canucks. They're still friends and they meet with the alumni. And I've gotten in touch with many of them lately, especially with social media and the
Hmm.
stuff that I do now and what I share. So it's been nice to reconnect with many of them,
Yeah.
especially doing what I do. And wow, it's incredible how time goes by so quickly. And
Yeah.
then some guys you recognize right away, and others go, wow, they've changed a lot. So,
The time does go by so fast. Okay, next question from Kai Shoker. And Kai is one of my best friend's sons, actually. And I believe that he is seven,
okay, wow.
7 or 8. Yes, 8. 8.
Hey,
And he wanted to know how many pucks did you shoot a day? And what was your favorite thing to do between periods?
wow, that I'm gonna have to think about that. Um, so how many pucks did I shoot? I did, the outdoor rinks. Um, I was there as much as I could be. I was like obsessed with playing hockey. So in Montreal, the outdoor rinks in the winter time, street hockey, that
Mhm.
counts as well. you develop like all these little skills with we used a tennis ball, but then when the orange balls, those orange balls, which
Yes.
uh, those we used those as well. So I was shooting all day long, every day. I know some friends that had set up like a wall basement where you'd go down and you shoot. I didn't have that. But my thing was really skating. So I went to free skating and
Hmm.
put a lot of time into skating and just, doing laps and laps and laps. And that's what my strength was. I was a great skater.
Mm.
Um, so I would say that aspect of just repeating that,
Yeah.
shooting is super important as well, but skating as well. So some players now learn figure skating. For me, just doing laps and laps and laps for an hour, like over time, it you get really good at it. So
Yeah.
I would say those are like the important skills to have. And if you can, add on, do something on the side to help yourself. And I know young kids, they all have like a little basement and area where they shoot pucks.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Did
good.
I answer the question?
Yes, you did. Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
it's hard to put a number, Kai. It's really hard to count that high.
Yeah. And then the other part is in between periods. I know I would always I would change my undershirt
Okay. Yeah.
because I didn't like um, you know you're soaked,
Yeah.
especially if you're playing in Madison Square Gardens where it's so hot. So
Yeah.
changing that, cooling off,
Yeah.
drinking, unlacing my skates, and just like taking a break, a real break, and then getting ready. So that's usually what my routine was like in between periods.
Nice. Okay. And then the last question is from Jake Christofferson. And what is your favorite food or meal to eat after a hockey game?
um, well, we had um, playing in the NHL, especially on the road. We had like great buffets after the games. So yeah, I had
Yeah.
a mix of pasta, usually pasta or rice, and then you have chicken or steak. So I think you're just so hungry.
I was gonna say carbs and protein.
Carbs and protein and some veggies too. And yeah, and a protein shake too afterwards. Everybody fuels up right after the game.
Hmm.
But no real, preference of going. It's just like loading up again. So
Yeah.
you're, yeah, you fill in the carbs, get the protein in, and get your rest, and then start over the next day.
Nice. Very cool. This, like we were talking about, time passes by so fast. It's been an hour. And so I would just love to, like, is there anything that you think that we missed out on or that should be said that would help? And it could be the youth athlete, or we have coaches that listen to this, or the parents of the athlete. What do you think is something else? Just one more important piece.
I think the biggest thing that I see is really like teaching kids to, you know, get out of their heads. Like often when, they'll judge themselves as this is good or bad, you're learning something, and the more you can honor that process,
Mhm.
the less that, because imagine like you tell yourself this is bad, I'm doing this bad already, you're less focused
Mm.
on what you're doing, and I think the key point I really, and this is something that I try to share, is that we have a natural learning mechanism, and kids are the best. They learn so effortlessly. If someone started playing golf or doing something from a young age, their swing is so natural. So letting that natural learning occur, and what you shared as well is becoming more aware of your body as you learn, so if you're shooting, where are the hands, and just trying to feel where your hands are, and then what would a full release be like? But often we get, I think, a little bit too technical, a little bit too like, oh, I'm not doing it right, and already I think that sort of blocks. So images are really important. So saying, okay, like imagining the puck going out there, how would I have to release the puck? But letting that natural learning occur.
Mhm.
And I say for coaches would be not to overcoach,
Mhm.
not to overcoach, and trust that if you do something and you show up and you're really committed, and you're present in what you're doing, you're going to improve, because that's nature. Everything wants to grow, expand, and progress. So
Mhm.
I think that would be where, I would do things a lot differently. I wouldn't focus so much on, oh, I I didn't do it right, focus so much on mistakes, and you're so worried about making mistakes. It's like, okay, I'm here. How do I get, better at that next skill like that you shared? Does that make sense?
100%. And it just really is, yeah, it's just that reminder that mistakes are just an opportunity to grow. Like, because we don't learn from winning and doing it right all the time, then what? We're not gonna,
Yeah.
right? And so if we're making a mistake or we're quote unquote failing, then we have information that we can go, okay, this didn't work this time. What do I need
Mm,
to tweak in order to make it different next time? And yeah, I think that sports is a really beautiful way to learn to learn that, taking risks, making mistakes, and it's not a negative thing. It really is something that is going to help us grow and get better. And I feel like the people who are at the top of whatever, top of sport, top of entertainment, top of a business, like whatever it is, those are the people who've probably failed the most.
yeah, because they have the relationship to failure is not a negative. It's like the obstacle becomes the way, failure becomes the way to success, because
Yeah.
now you keep moving. Eventually you're going to get it right. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Adrien, thank you so much. Thank you for coming and spending time with all of us and sharing your hard-earned wisdom and experience. And like you're passing it on to the next generation of athletes, but also like the next generation of humans and leaders for the world. So I want to acknowledge you and the hard work that you've done and who you are. Thank you.
Th- Thank you, Marielle, and same to you. Yeah, for doing all the good work. And I'm glad I can jump on and have this hour with you.
Yeah. Until next time, everybody, train your mind, build your grit, and forge your legacy.
You've been listening to Forged Youth. New episodes drop every week, so if this hits home for you, throw us a follow and subscribe. Forged Youth, where resilience is trained.